Salam. Happy full moon. We're here for it. All right, we'll just start with this. Crap, I didn't write it down. I do this sometimes where I'm like, I have a method. I do the thing at the top of the page, and then I write down what time it's at, and I write down, and it's a method. I got distracted by the similarity between two symbols, and then I like flipped them and rotated them, and I put them together, and it's a cute little heart. Anyway, weird things that I do. The full moon in Cancer, I believe, happens at 6:33, but don't quote me on that. I'll figure it out in a few minutes when I have the ability to focus on talking and searching at the same time. For now, we have the full moon in Cancer, which happens later today. It is at 4 degrees 58 minutes of Cancer, which isn't necessarily relevant to most people because they're not tracking degrees and things like that. But it's the first part of Cancer. We're still early in the Cancer lunar movement. So we get to experience this in its full force for another 2 days, basically. 2 full days after the actual full moon, the moon remains in Cancer, and we get to move in that energy and really kind of soak it in. The full moon in Cancer is potent, not just because it's the final full moon of the year and it kind of carries us into the next cycle. It's the full moon in Cancer, and it's potent because we're in this time of very internal focus. We're just after the winter solstice. We're in the darkest days in the northern hemisphere, at least. We're in the darkest part of the year, and we're holed up. We're experiencing family and friends and kind of closer knit groups. We're not focusing too much on the bigger, broader exterior world. And Cancer is very much the ruler of that home space, that place of peace and comfort and tranquility that we wish to produce and return to, hopefully every day or most days, where the place where we just go back so that we don't have to deal with people, and so that we can just like be there and sleep and enjoy ourselves. Granted, we all do that to different degrees. Some people refuse to go home. Some people have no peace there at all. And whatever the case, Cancer still rules that home environment, whether it's produced to create peace or produced to create a very comfortable kind of fun and excitement. Whatever it is, the comfort of home is Cancer. And the moon, as a luminary, a planet, in astrology it's called a planet because in Latin planet means wanderer. So it didn't matter if it was like a star in the sky or a planet in the whatever, or the moon or the sun. They were called planets because they moved, they wandered, they traversed the skies. And so anyway, as a planet, the moon rules the sign of Cancer. So it's very comfortable there. And when we're in these full and new moons, we look to the ruler of that particular lunar movement, and in this case, it's the moon. So the moon rules this full moon, and it brings us just a kind of pure essence of that home experience, that need for comfort, that need for some manner of peace, or at least familiarity. Even if it's a chaotic kind of familiarity. We know the chaos at home, therefore it's comfortable. So we have that to look at. And the full moon is a time of release and removal and shedding of things. So what are we looking at that we can shed or remove? What are the grudges that we have with our family members from fucking 2 decades ago, or some weird thought process that gets in the way of us actually doing the thing that we want to do when we set our New Year's intention, or what is it? New Year's resolution. There we go. That's the word everybody loves to use. It's a resolution. It's as if it's to resolve something. Like, fuck that. It's the wrong word. We need to rebrand the like New Year, New You situation. I mean, that's a pretty decent rebrand. Somebody did that a while ago. New Year, New You. Resolution, not the best word. It's because it immediately I'm going to tiny tangent. It immediately contextualizes whatever it is that you're doing now as a problem. And granted, it may not be beneficial, or you may want to do something that is more beneficial. Contextualizing it as a problem is immediately putting yourself against it. And that doesn't fucking work in human psychology. It's with exception to certain things like traumatic experiences where you have to put yourself up against it so that you know you can face it, therefore the mind is able to release it and whatever. It's called exposure therapy. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, like, I don't know, compulsively buying gummy bears every time you go to the frickin' Staples or whatever. That's not talking from experience or anything. The compulsions that we get into, or the things that we want to just adjust to be more beneficial. We're moving into the new year with a sense of acceptance, togetherness. It's like, this is a part of me. Why would I go to war against it? Why should I? It's so anyway. That's my little spiel. At some point, it's going to fall into my head the word that I want to use instead of resolution, and then it may just seem random at that point, but I'm going to say it anyway. So here we go. We're moving along. This full moon removes the things that are no longer serving us, that are no longer benefiting us on the whole as people, as hearts, as souls, and so we get to bring some of that into the light, into the focus. This is also the brightest time of the lunar cycle. So thinking the internal world is shining most brightly outward, symbolically. It's a pretty accurate way of thinking about it. It's meeting the world. It's meeting the world. The light within you meets the world at the full moon, and we get to use that interchange between us and the world to figure out what are the things that don't work for us, instead of like, it's really easy to hold on to weird things that don't serve us when we don't have anyone to bounce them off of, where they're not like meeting the world in a way that you're like, oh, that's not a real thing. That doesn't work. We can't do that. It's much easier to just hold on to it if we're just like, well, no one knows about it, therefore it's not even a problem. Nobody can tell me that it's a problem. I don't know that it's a problem because my mind is very good at rationalizing and deluding myself into thinking that the things that I do aren't actually problems or whatever. Again, I've automatically moved into the contextualization of it as a problem, but still, let's bounce back. The things that don't serve us, whatever they may be, they can be removed systematically, gradually, or very instantaneously through different practices, through different thought processes. And that's the idea with the full moon. So we find the things that don't serve us and we allow them to fall away, whether it be now or over the next 2 weeks while the lunar cycle continues. And we enjoy that process, hopefully, because we see the things and we're like, oh, this is something that I am ready to let go of, or this is something that I'm not ready to let go of, but it's here now. Take the chance, do the thing, let the chips fall where they may, which is an appropriate metaphor because technically it's not to overcomplicate this, but this is the Sagittarius lunar cycle. The new moon in Sagittarius started 2 weeks ago, the lunar cycle of Sagittarius. And so we're working with faith. We're working with exploration and experience, and also just the ability to move into something not knowing if it's going to work perfectly. So if we have something that we're not ready to let go of, or we have something that we're not quite comfortable with what will be the result on the other side, it's just like, have a little faith that it's going to work. It's coming up now for a reason. Let it go. It's also Mercury retrograde, so there's plenty of opportunity for these things to float through the mind as they tend to, and you're like, oh, you can either impulsively call that person that you shouldn't call, or you can think, oh, this is coming up for a reason. What's not resolved? What's not figured out? What can I adjust in my thinking in this so that this doesn't float through my mind again? It's time to let it go. So we've got some of that. Now, big influences with this full moon. This is also particularly appropriate, considering we're in the Sagittarius lunar cycle. Jupiter plays a part in all of this. Jupiter is this big, exuberant, and jovial energy. It's like the energy of Christmas. It's the generosity of spirit. It's the pleasure of going and seeing and giving and moving around in the world. And it's also the faith of the season also plays into the Jupiterian thing. And the reason that's relevant is because Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So Jupiter rules this whole Sagittarius lunar cycle from new moon in Sagittarius until the new moon in Capricorn. And we have Jupiter influencing this full moon in the sense that it is in a smooth harmony with the sun and an energetic harmony with the moon. So we get this bigness of spirit. There's a lot of energy here to be taken advantage of if we want to, or we can direct it all inward. It's a full moon, so maybe it's all about home and being at home and finding a comfort and releasing privately, as you may do, or moving out into the world and letting that move some energy away from you in the process. So Jupiter, the big exuberant, jovial thing, the jolly spirit, and the desire to just be in a space of joy. It can also be overindulgence, but sometimes you have to overindulge. Sometimes if you're releasing something, you maybe just want to be at home and eat a fucking pint of ice cream and overindulge that. And it's a process, and it's okay. That's also cool. That's also very Cancerian. Also influencing this. So Jupiter is one of these great teachers in astrology. What's the word? I lose it all the time. Benefic. Basically the big, happy, good-spirited teacher, the one that encourages, the one that allows, the one that facilitates the exploration and learning process and the philosophy that is born from experience. Jupiter rules that part of the learning process. And then we have Saturn, this other teacher, the one that's like, you shouldn't have done that, smack. It's the other side. It's the lessons that are hard learned. It's the wall that you run into as you try to run your way through the many cities of Europe, as you maybe did once right after high school, and you learn some lessons. Anyway, the hard lessons, the cold concrete ground that you smack into when you misstep, that is Saturn, and we all need that teacher as well. And it's also the one that ensures that there is a reasonable container. So think of it this way, in the metaphor of the concrete ground as you smack into it. If there were no container, if there were no reasonable container that is the Saturnian lessons, or if the container was not restricted enough, if it was not restrictive enough, this obviously wouldn't happen in like our three-dimensional world, but like without Saturn, or with a misaligned Saturn, instead of smacking into the concrete from the height of where you're at, you smack into some four-dimensional concrete slab 18 miles down after falling forever or whatever. It's the difference between having a safe container to fuck up in and having a container that isn't there and dying because the mistakes can be much bigger when there's no container. That's basically it. Saturn keeps the lessons within a safe container. Jupiter tries to push the container ever outward. So there are these two contrasting energies. Jupiter is in flow with the sun and energetic harmony with the moon, and vice versa with Saturn. So Saturn is in this energetic experience with the sun, and the sun is currently in Capricorn. So the ruler of the season, the solar season, is Saturn. So we have these two powerful alignments with the full moon. They both rule these different parts of the season. The Jupiter ruling the lunar cycle, and Saturn ruling the solar cycle currently. And so we have this very big opportunity to learn. There's a lot to be learned. There's a lot to be gathered here. So in the process of releasing and removing and reorganizing, reorchestrating, we have all of these great potentials to learn from everything. And it also sets a very stable foundation. Capricorn, again, is this energy of setting a foundation that we can build on. There has to be a container to work within. So the stronger the foundation, I love this metaphor of the house, because whatever, maybe it's because I used to build houses, or it's because I'm interested in things that last, maybe. The foundation can be set like shit. It can be tilted and made with bad materials and whatever, and be set to the wrong dimensions and not be aligned with other parts of the project, the plumbing or the electrical or whatever. There can be all kinds of problems with the foundation, and you can still build something on it. There are some wild constructive constructions in the world. It's like things that just, they didn't quite work out right, and maybe they last, maybe they're perfect, maybe there's a perfection to them. For instance, famously the Leaning Tower of Pisa. That structure was built on a solid foundation without a proper evaluation of what was beneath it. So there was like the foundation and what was beneath the foundation, and during, I don't know how it happened, maybe it was during an earthquake or something, the sand underneath the foundation of the structure itself shifted such that the whole thing tilted, and there you have it. You have something that is still there. God bless was it the Romans, the Greeks? I don't know. I can't remember, but it's a good, reasonable example. I can't remember who built the thing or what time it was, but it's still there. It's still great, but it's not the optimal result. And sometimes optimal is cool and kitschy and touristy, but it's not the optimal result. And Capricorn wants that foundation set perfectly. Everything beneath it is known and understood, and everything of the foundation is properly aligned and strong and well built and well arranged, so that everything that is built on top of it can last as long as possible. And a good foundation, everything that's built on top of it will still be there if you tear everything down and you can start again. You can build, tear down, and rebuild. You can build and it can be destroyed by something, and the foundation will still be there and you can rebuild again. If the foundation is set, you can continue that structure almost indefinitely if you build the foundation right. So that's the very long version of the metaphor. We set the foundation in this Capricorn season so that we can build everything that we want to build moving into the rest of the year. So Capricorn straddles this Gregorian year. As we move into the new year, we still have about 20 days left of the Capricorn energy. So it's a good way to start. We start with this like solid desire to build. It's a bit, it's cold, which is appropriate because it's winter here in the Northern Hemisphere, and it's calculated, it's methodical, it's not necessarily of the sensitive sort of season, but we need the builder. We need the ability to be practical and be methodical and be thinking about things in terms of now and later and well into the future. And everything that we do right now is very much aligned with that. So there's so much more stuff I could talk about. There's so much more going on with all of this, which is fun, but ultimately it's an opportunity for learning. There's a deep ability to learn and incorporate all of this new knowledge and information as we move through the rest of the lunar cycle. And there's also a deep opportunity to, there are a couple, just one real quick thing. So Neptune is deeply involved in all of this, in other parts of this alignment today. It's not connected directly to the moon and the sun, but it's being affected by Venus, Mars, and Mercury. So these three personal planets. So the energy is kind of visceral as we move through this, without being overcomplicated. Basically, our desire, our ability to seek and attain said desire, and the energy that we put into that, the thought and the planning and the logic that we put into that whole process is all interacting with this Neptunian energy. And Neptune is the dream. Neptune is the dream space. So if we allow ourselves to not be delusional, but stay in a grounded, realistic place, Capricorn, the foundation, the learning and containing energy, we stay in that very practical understanding and allow ourselves also to dream. It's like, what do we build now, and how does that support our dreams in the future? It's a very potent time as we move through now into the new year. So it's very exciting. I like it. It's a powerful energy. And weirdly, why did I, oh no, I wrote this down for a very specific reason. So Neptune is, again, this is one of those things that you don't necessarily have to think about or remember, but I thought it was cool. So Neptune is exactly at 25 degrees of Pisces, exactly 25, 0 minutes, 0 seconds. The seconds I might be a little off on, but 25 degrees, 0 minutes. And that's it's a very specific energy at that degree. The energy, it's a bit poetically written out, but it's a new moon that divides its influences. Now, this is a full moon, yes, but the 25th degree is explained as a new moon that divides its influences, and the lunar influences are everything. The moon pertains to the social order. It pertains to the populace. It pertains to all of the people that are contained within the greater example of home that is the planet. So when we think about a new moon dividing its influences, the energy of this 25th, or rather the 26th degree, it's 25 degrees, but it's, never mind. The 26th degree of Pisces is this energy of each and every individual finding their own directive path. Now, you can stay stuck in old patterns, old dogmas, old weirdness, and you can let yourself be weirdly corrupted away from a realistic path, a realistic goal, or you can engage in this in a way that is fluid, in a way that is malleable, shed the old dogmatic beliefs or the strangely held like bonds that you have, and let yourself move into this new dream space in a very potent way. So anyway, that's that. I want everybody to have really fucking cool experiences this year. It's going to be great. One way or another, it's going to be great. There's so many big things happening, and I'm going to talk more about that on New Year's Eve. But it's a great way to move into this last part of the year. So with that, I'll tune out, be off, and let everybody go on about their business. Have a fantastic Tuesday, a lovely full moon in Cancer, and enjoy the rest of your year. Was there something else? Yes. Again, everybody in the room already heard me. If you're tuning in newly online, I'm doing readings at a wildly reduced rate for the rest of the year, just because I want to, basically. And it's an interesting time. There's a lot of big things coming up, so I think it's a very good time for people to get a little more into their own astrology, a little more into their own stars, and see how the upcoming movements in the world will affect them and their own energy. So with that, I'm off. Have an awesome day. Satnam.
वंदना से विधि कह